Today we are talking about moderation and the power of process. So the main idea is that it's never too late to make a change. It's never too late to take some practical steps to implementation of what you really want in your life. It's never too late to understand the mechanics of the process. It's never too late to take practical steps. Okay? And there's a lot of inspiration we can get from people around us. There's a lot of people that are motivators. There's a lot of very, very interesting people that also are inspirators. So motivation and inspiration, that's some different factors. And what is really strong is when we are inspired, it works on a longer scale. So we actually make a transition from goal-oriented way of working to the process-oriented way of working. And this is really, really strong. You see, I'm very inspired by this idea that it's never too late. I see it with my mother and my father, for example. I'm working with health. I'm working with inspiring people to take some very concrete steps to change the health. I mean, to change their state of their health from declining health to rejuvenation and to normal health, both in physical movement, in mental resilience, and in immunity. And I see that, it doesn't matter do you take really big steps, many of them every day, or you take small steps. What is actually interesting, I see an example of my mother and my father. Both thing works. My mother, she's 76, and she started accepting and implementing the ideas of Hi, Greta. Thank you. My ideas of my protocol of health, working with breathing and nutrition and movement. And she was 77. She's 76 now. What I see, she was making a lot. Hi, Bettina. She is taking a lot of practical steps every day, and she reached very, very good results. Really, she reversed the state of bad health to the state of very good health, and this is fantastic. I think it's very, very inspiring. And you see, my father, he's 84, and he took a very gradual approach. He took very, very small steps. Okay, and still he's in age of 84. He's seeing big change still. You see, instead of taking big steps, not everybody can do that. Some of us can do that, but you don't need to. You don't need to actually. It will eventually, in the most situations, lead to very good results by establishing a gradual process. If you, instead of taking big steps, you take small steps. It's very nice. So you see, my father of 84 and my mother of 76, they could change the state of their health. Go off medicine. Stop the joint inflammation. stop precancerous state, shed extra kilos, improve the mental health, improve cognitive impairment. My father actually had some cognitive impairment for he was 83 for 1 year ago, and it changed, it disappeared. Because you see, normally when we think about a person, consider this. You know, a person that is 83, and you see a gradual impairment in the cognitive. Cognitive impairment means that you are responding sometimes with weird words. You forget what you are about to do. And if a person is 83, you would think, well, this is that's a stage of dementia for sure, because it's age-related, 83. There's inflammation in the body. There's, he stops driving a car because he thinks it may be a little bit, not a good idea. You know, if you have cognitive impairment, if you react too slow, you would stop driving, because it's that's dangerous. Actually, dangerous for yourself, for your relatives, for your wife. If you are driving a car together with your wife and you are 83, your environment would react with the same things. Say, ho, Alexander, don't do this, don't drive. Okay? But what I see with my father, example, that he actually not really stopped, but he was stopping driving for 1 year ago. It was a cognitive impairment. He started taking some very, very small steps, moving a little bit. He bought elliptical trainer, and he was taking just 3 minutes, started with 3 minutes every day. And then he started implementing some of my ideas about nutrition, stopping carbs, stopping eating carbs at the age of 83. That's a lot, to do when the age of 83. And what happened is that actually now 1 year passed, and we can see a change. He's driving a car in the age of 84 after having stopped. And initially I thought, well, this must be what we call Alzheimer's. Okay? And that's how Alzheimer's, it scares shit out of me, because, people just stop being human beings, just behave like normal human beings. This is a total decrease in all the abilities, the cognitive abilities, in the physical abilities. They stop actually enjoying life, and it's a terrible disease. My girlfriend, she's a nurse working with dementia, with Alzheimer's, and she sees that this is when they start to decrease. In the end, before people die with Alzheimer's, they cannot not just move, but they cannot control the sinking. So they cannot actually sink. So this is an impairment, because when we sink the food. We need a cooperation between like 25 different muscles to work. And when your cells in your brain are dying, what really happened, that there's also a lot of different abilities of movement, cooperation between muscles, which also impaired. And one of those things that is crazy, it's a breathing is impaired, and the ability to think is impaired. Okay. So and what I saw with my father, what I really thought was a beginning dementia, and I was scared. And I didn't say it to him, because you don't say things like that to scare the people, really. So, but I just tried to explain to him, to be aware of different things. And I know that, well, the probability that he would change his life in the age of 83 was not really big. But he actually listened. And he is also an engineer, just as me. Well, I am also an engineer, just as him. So what happened is, actually, he started following some little advice, little by little, and we start seeing the improvement. All of a sudden, when I'm talking with my father, I'm talking, well, a couple of times a week through Skype. He's in Russia, he's in Moscow, I'm here in Denmark. So we communicate, and I start like seeing that he's hearing him talking normally again, being invigorated in the way that he used to be. So he started reminding me of my father as I used to think about him, because of small, very small single steps, small steps during the day. He started removing carbs. He started eating some healthy fats. He started moving a little bit more. And he saw actually an example also, because his dog was having cancer for a year before that. He was 82 at that time. And I helped them to stop the cancer by simple change in nutrition, in movement patterns for a dog. So they actually stopped cancer. And he was inspired by this. And maybe it was in part of this inspiration. So what I say is very crucial that we inspire people around us with some of the abilities we have. So it's not really motivation, but it's because motivation is short-lived. Motivation is normally based on some, physical goods you attain, like money or career or some things like that are better than your neighbor. This is motivation. But inspiration is deeper. It's much deeper, because it's something. It's actually something that burns from the inside. Something that is very, very, very strong energy. Okay, the driver. So, Carsten, you are filming me? Okay, so, well, Carsten, that's my partner. And yes, we're just actually filming week 32 of our course. You see, that's how it happens. We have all of those things here. That's week 32 of our course. It's about insulin resistance, diabetes, lifestyle disease, aging, rejuvenation, and different kinds of health. Actually, there's two kinds of health. The growth health and the maintenance health. The health about natural health and about evolution and reproductive age, and the health about post-reproductive age, which is about rejuvenation and longevity. And that's what we are working with, Carsten and me, and Steve also. We are 3 partners making our 50 weeks course. And Teddy is Teddy is helping us, right? Teddy, that's what we call him. We call him animal human, right? That's the animal human. And we are trying to live as human animals. And that's the difference. You see, we should say, well, that's a kind of a difference. Yes. So that was about my father. So now we see there's no cognitive decline. The situation has changed. He's driving a car again. He's walking better. He's straightened up. So I've been working, when I was visiting him in Russia, I was helping him, showing him what is the structural movement. How is structural movement, how it's connected with the breathing, how it's connected with mental health, and mental resilience. And because he's engineer, the way I am working with health is like engineering the processes, trying to explain the physiology, and then to have some short explanation of how can we implement it in everyday life. So the meaning with all of this is that we can actually change if we understand the idea, if we understand how we can implement the ideas and the physiology, we can actually change our life. We can choose and we can change. And we can establish very, very strong processes. And the idea is not really, do we make a lot of practical steps every day, or do we take just small steps every day, few steps? That actually doesn't make a very big difference. It makes difference, yes. But what really makes difference, that's the ability to maintain something every day. Be it big steps, many steps every day, or small steps, few steps every day, doesn't matter what. If you do this, you will establish a process. What is the strongest tool here? That's the learning. Because when you establish the process with the steps, you learn every day. You make faults, you make mistakes, and you learn from them. And they are becoming real stepping stones in your path. Okay, stepping stones, meaning not really faults, not really errors, not really mistakes, but actually strong drivers towards health. So you can change your life. Exactly. So what is the problem is, you see, but the most of us and the world around us really promotes the idea of instant fixes. You see? And I see a lot of resistance in my world, in my area of work, where health is something about medicine, mostly, for the most people. Health is something about taking pills, can be supplementation. If something doesn't work in your body, you go to the doctor, and the doctor says take pills, take supplementation, or we're gonna adjust you in some way, with operation, with intervention, actually. So you are not taking responsibility, really. Hi, Steve. You are not taking responsibility for your health, and that's really a problem. Okay? So when you are taking small steps, you condition yourself to take responsibility. It doesn't matter, big steps, many steps a day, or small steps, few steps a day. Doesn't matter what. You are making errors, faults, you are correcting them, you are learning from them, and you are adapting to the way of the process, not to the goals, not to the instant fixes, but you adapt yourself to the power of process. And that's the main idea. I think it's very inspiring. See the dynamics, see how you can transform your life. And you have to really understand that the patience here and the slowliness is a key. There's a lot of acceptance into this, because if you go from instant fixes, from instant gratification into the process, you need to accept the slowliness. So you need to understand that instant fixes are not going to work in the long term. And it takes lots of understanding. It also takes a lot of training to make this acceptance work for you. So this is a question and answer session. So actually what I want is to make you ask the questions. So what are the biggest inspirations for you in the power of process? What do you want to achieve in the long term? What is the most crucial for you? Is it some areas of health? Oh, Bettina, that's very, very good question. Thank you very much. You say, this is very interesting. What would you do about inflammation of joints and ligaments other than exercise? This is a fantastic question. You see, Bettina, here, if we're talking, let's start with exercise. And the exercise is very crucial that you are not doing the exercise as on time. You are not doing the exercise on speed, and you are not doing the exercise on what do we have? We have time, we have speed, and we have distance. So that's normally an amount of repetitions. That's how we normally measure the exercise. Amount of repetitions, distance, the speed, and the time. Okay? It's very, very crucial. This is goal-oriented. And the goal-oriented promote inflammation in the joints. You see, that's about overtraining syndrome. That's the first thing that is very crucial to understand. That when you're doing extensive exercise, not moderate exercise, but exercise with high level of exertion, it promotes joint inflammation and inflammation in joints and ligaments. That's the first thing. So when you are exercising is very, very crucial to accept small steps. Okay? That's the first thing because we are talking about exercise. Okay? The other thing which is very crucial, and I'm very inspired here in the guy called Phil Maffetone. And Phil Maffetone, he's talking very much about the overtraining syndrome. And one of the things he's talking about, that's doing a moderate exercise, the first thing. And the second thing, when we're talking about, because inflammation is one of the major things about the joint health and ligament health, okay? So in order to remove inflammation and to lessen inflammation, to decrease inflammation, we need to normalize insulin sensitivity in our body. Okay? Because insulin sensitivity and inflammation and the levels of glucose in our body, they are totally correlated. And this is very crucial to understand. So what we're talking about in order to stop joint inflammation and in order to stop inflammation in the ligaments and to let the body, let the tissue heal, we need to, if you ask me, hi Luisa, nice to see you, dear. So what we need in order to stop inflammation of joints and ligaments, to lower carbs. Okay, when we lower carbs in our nutrition, we lower the glucose levels, so we lower inflammation. The second thing, well, and this is just simple sugars like sugar and honey and fruit and fructose and sucrose and also lactose for many people. But we're talking carbohydrate. Okay? Everything that has refined flour, everything that had sugar in it. Also about oils. It's very, very crucial when we're talking nutrition and to stop inflammation of the joints. It's to stop bad oils, eating bad oils. Also, if you are buying, for example, something we call wienerbrød in Danish. That's Danish pastry. It's made of refined flour, lots of sugar, and hydrogenated oils. Almost always. It's not often it's made on real butter. It's made on trans fats and hydrogenated oils. And all of those three things are promoting inflammation in the joints, inflammation in the tissue. And we're talking not about acute inflammation, which is our friend. That's how immunity works. But something that is very, very bad. And this is called chronic inflammation. And Bettina, to answer your question, that's a very, very strong pattern we can follow in order to stop the inflammation in the joints, in the tissue, in the ligaments. So remove refined sugars, removed all kind of flour, remove hydrogenated oils, trans fats. Okay. Then what we want to add saturated fat. Surprise, surprise, because normally we used to hear that saturated fat is bad. Now we understand the latest that it was that was wrong background. It was a science with a wrong background knowledge, and that was a bad science. And that's why we have epidemic levels of diseases, of lifestyle diseases, which are caused by chronic inflammation. That's diseases where we have the insulin sensitivity is bad. So, okay. So we have something called acquired insulin resistance, and where we have a very, very high levels of glucose in the blood, which promotes inflammation. And that's how we promote cancer. That's how we which is a lifestyle disease. That's how we promote Alzheimer's, how we promote diabetes and obesity and diabesity, actually. That's how we promote heart disease. That's how we promote vascular disease. Different kinds of lifestyle diseases. Okay? And this is very crucial to understand. So, we've talked about how to remove inflammation in the joints. Hi, John. How do we remove inflammation from the joints? We start with making a moderate exercise. Understand that we really have to understand that we measure our exercise not on the amount of repetition, on amount of minutes, on amount of kilometers, on amount on your speed. These four things that we normally measure. But what we really want to make a transition from goal-oriented, target-oriented way of working to the real process-oriented way of working, where we start exercising our sensitivity. And there's a sensitivity. Hi, Felicia. And the sensitivity we're talking about, that the sensitivity towards the signals that your body is sending you. Okay? And that's what is very, very crucial. That's how you avoid disease. You start listening to your body. And then the sensitivity to insulin normalizes. Okay? You don't have insulin resistance anymore. And insulin resistance, that's the strongest marker towards shortening of your life. Normal insulin resistance, okay? And low levels of insulin in your blood, low levels of sugar in your blood, they correlate beautifully with longevity. And that's what we've been actually talking about here. You see, we're talking about, that's the week 32 in our course, and it's insulin resistance, diabetes, and lifestyle disease. We're talking about different kind of diabetes. 1, 2, 1.5, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're talking about physiology, and we're talking about health, two different kinds of health. Maintenance health, which leads towards longevity, post-reproductive, less is more, rejuvenation after 30, and the growth health, which is natural health, evolutionary health, reproductive health, fertility health. More is better, where we are aging after 30, and that's a decline. And you see how you do this. We're talking about protein, insulin, calorie, carbs and glucose, leptin levels, fat burn levels, lifetime fat to carb burn ratio. We're talking about exercise, blood triglycerides, cortisol. So we're talking about something called mTOR pathway, autophagy, IGF-1, growth hormone, the metabolic pathways that let you shift your health from growth to maintenance. And these are some very, very strong things. It's not just, you see, we in this course, we are not, we are working with health. It is still alternative. That's a problem, you see, because we're working with very, with really connecting all the areas of modern science together into a very, very strong protocol of health. And this way of working is not something medical profession works with, connecting this. Yes, we are working based on medical science, but we choose to take science not in the path of what kind of drugs are we going to use, but we choose to use the science, okay, to understand what can we do when we choose to take responsibility for our health. And this is a very, very big difference, because when you talk about the current state of affairs of health in the public health area of public health, we're talking about medicine, we're talking about supplementation, we're talking Shenya, hi, we're talking about making surgery. Okay, this is invasive. All of those things are invasive, but I think it's alternative to normality, which what we are doing, I think it's normal. But though, in the current state of affairs, current state of situation of health, normal public health, normality is called alternative. This is totally crazy. That's totally crazy. And the biggest problem for us is to let people really understand that they can take responsibility for their health, and to make a transition from instant fixes. That's how the public health works now. It works with towards correcting the symptoms and not correcting the cause. You see, and we are looking at the cause, because you see, and if we're taking insulin resistance, diabetes, and we take type 1 diabetes, type 2, type 3, which is Alzheimer's disease, actually type 4 and type 1.5, which is a blend of those. We are talking, the cause is almost the same. That's the diet and the lifestyle. And all of those things that we can change the situation, the practical things, that's only lifestyle. There's no medicine involved at all. Actually, we want to minimize supplementation too, because we really want to optimize the rates, both the bioavailability of micronutrients and macronutrients. But we also, in our diet, in our nutrition, but we also optimize the digestion rates. Actually, what we really get, the bang for the buck, what we really get from the thing we ingest, from our micronutrients and our macronutrients. So we don't need supplementation. We can get things from the nutritional sources. And that's where the biggest bioavailability, because that was I called natural, okay? Natural sources. To make stronger resilience in our body. And all kinds of resilience, they are connected together. Mental resilience, physical resilience, immune resilience. They are interconnected, they are interdependent, and they promote, when they are optimized, they also promote the rates of where we normalize, for example, through breathing, we normalize, we optimize oxygenation, what is the rate of getting the oxygen from the environment outside our body to the environment inside of our body. What are the rates? We can optimize it. So oxygenation of the cellular level. It's also promoted. The more we work with mental health, with physical health, with immune health. It's also optimized the rate of absorption of oxygen on the cellular level. It also optimized the rate of absorptions of all the micronutrients of water into the cells at the same time. That's an interesting way of thinking, right? And that's a vitamin, that's antioxidants, that's minerals, and all of those things. We really want to get bang for the buck. I mean, we get like 100% absorption. We can never get to 100% absorption, but we can drastically optimize absorption by eating the right things, by eating and the right timing, by exercising in a right way, by eliminating inflammation, by eliminating leaky gut, by eliminating yeast overgrowth in small intestine, by eliminating bacterial overgrowth in the gut, by normalize all of those things, esophageal health too, the normalize the pH in the mouth, the pH in the also in the nose cavity, the normal movement of mucus here by normalizing the breathing, normalizing physical movement patterns. That's all of those things that we are working in our slow course of 50 weeks. Yesterday, now we have course in English and Danish started, and now we actually starting it in Russian, 50 weeks too. So we got a person that is gonna make some marketing in Russia. We start with diabetes and some other things afterwards. But yesterday I got we have support sessions, closed support sessions for the people once a week from our course, both in English on Mondays and in Danish on Tuesdays. And yesterday I got some of our new people on the course. It was a man, he's 65 years old. He's from Aarhus. And he has the heart arrhythmia. And he has sleep apnea. And I think he's also in a pre-diabetic state. And there's a lot of very good questions, and he's so excited. He thinks that the course is very, very inspiring. Oh, it was fantastic, because you see, when you work one-to-one with people, that's one thing. You know a person, you know your patients, you know your clients, you communicate, and then you understand how the inspiration can happen. But the good thing about what happened yesterday, that I could see actually, that our video course can inspire people very much too to take steps towards health, to take steps towards taking responsibility for their health. So that was very, very good news. Carsten and me, we talked today that it was a very good feedback. We are very, very happy about this kind of feedback. That, well, on course, we have very good results, both for athletic performance. We have runners, we have cyclists from England and Canada that made very good testimonials now. They are running 160 kilometers, 100 miles on water with closed mouth, no glucose supplementation, no carb loading. They are running with closed mouth, cycling up hills, uphill and downhill too, like 5-hour race, 160 kilometers. And this is great on our course, just after, how many, 4 months in our course, yeah? Like after 17, 18 weeks, these testimonials. We have good testimonials on our cancer course, Thrive Post Cancer, and the Livet efter Kræft in Danish. So this is great. It's going. So this video, this live stream today. Thank you, Bettina. It's very inspiring questions. It's very, very nice because this is actually question and answer session that happens every Tuesday at 1 o'clock Danish time. And hi, Dimitri. And the Danish question and answer session will happen, or happening now. That's 4th week we're doing this. It's happening on Wednesdays. Right? No, I'm sorry. This is English. This is Wednesday. Wednesday at 1. That's English, and Thursday at 1 in Danish. So tomorrow we also have a Danish session. Thank you, Dimitri. So we're talking about that the small steps are actually enough to make a very big change. And all of the, well, I talked about the difference between what my mother did to change the state of her health and what my father did. My mother, at 76, she was very inspired by what I'm doing, and she started making big steps and train a lot. And she changed her health, really, from bad health to good health. And my father, at age of 84 now, he made very, very small steps, but every day, very, very small steps. Still, he made very good progress. And my idea with this question and answer, with this flow talk today, is to say that actually what really matters is that we are repeating the steps towards something we would like to achieve, or the transition we would like to make. Okay? Process-oriented. From goal-oriented to process-oriented. It doesn't really matter how much you do. Well, it does matter. But what matters most, that you are actually doing it. Also small steps, few steps, but if you do it every day, it will enable a lot of learning. It will enable transformation of the concept of faults, errors, and mistakes into stepping stones towards learning, towards a change. And you will really learn something very, very gradually, something very, very strong. And this is the power of slowliness. Okay? And this is acceptance. It takes radical acceptance. It takes a lot of learning, it takes a lot of repetition to really understand that what really helps, that's the gradual kinds of transitions. Not revolutions, but evolutions. And we can actually do it by ourselves. And this is not motivation, really, because that's more inspiration. That's maintaining the burning fire in our chest, inside of us. That's the inspiration. And this is everlasting. If you are inspired, it's probably you're going to take this through your life, this inspiration. Okay? This is long lasting, where motivation is very short lived. So, that is the main idea with our session today. And now, I've been talking for 50 minutes. Wow, that was a long talk. So I'm going to finish now. Before I finish, I will ask you if you have any questions. Please ask me now. If you have any ideas of what is really crucial for you in your transition, what kind of process is interesting for you. Otherwise, you can also write to me. Just write here in the comments, what do you want to talk about in the next week, or maybe tomorrow. We have a session in Danish tomorrow, or maybe next week. So we're going to talk about the items that you think are interesting, and answer your questions. So please engage in the conversation. Thank you for joining. It was a pleasure talking to you. And Bettina, thank you for a very, very good question about the joint inflammation, and how do we reduce joint inflammation and inflammation in ligaments from exercise. And what I've been answering, it was, you can listen to a replay. It was very interesting, actually. Very good question. So please come with a few more good questions next time, or in the comments here in the comment field. Hi, Xenia. Nice to see you, my dear. So you can listen to a replay. I've been talking now for 15 minutes. So the replay will be available in a minute. So guys, thank you very much for joining me. And I really hope, well, I not hope, I know that now I'm taking these small steps towards better understanding of what I'm doing, spreading the good knowledge about physiology, and that we can actually take responsibility for our health. And it takes some repetition. Have a very nice day. See you tomorrow if you want to join me in Danish. Otherwise, tomorrow, Thursday, 1 o'clock Copenhagen time. Otherwise, next English session we have next Wednesday. Wednesday next week at 1 o'clock Copenhagen time.